All right. Well, welcome back to A Day in the Life. This is our typical Monday that we're here. However, it seems like it might be untypical, if that's a word, because the main person is not here. We have Lorik instead. So, thanks for joining us. Lorik, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? Everybody's kind of met me. They've seen you in the background with the baby. That's about it.
Yep. Laura Carding. I work with Cindy on the asset management side. So we are in the trenches with financials and working with the PMs and doing all that kind of stuff. Um, you don't usually see me because I am working a lot in the background. Cindy is definitely the face, and she's the expert on it, and I'm here trying to fill in all the gaps.
Well, today you guys get a mostly expert opinion, and we're going to talk about some physical due diligence. So, really quick, I'm going to just drop a poll. Oh, I did not, I didn't label my poll. Nope, that's the wrong one. Don't do that one. That was a bad one. This poll. So, we're going to talk about physical due diligence. So, I just want to get a pulse real quick where you guys are at. Have you done physical due diligence and specifically for multifamily assets, right? So, there have been quite a few people that have done like a single homes or anything like that. Perfect. So we have 100% participation right now. So thank you guys. You're awesome. So we have two people that have done a physical due diligence, and I know the two that have. So it sounds like everybody else has not. So we're going to try and prep you guys as much as we can for when you do have a physical due diligence. It's a big part of being able to move forward with an asset. And so what we want to do is talk a little bit about prep, then we want to talk about execution, and then we want to talk about reporting and what the heck do you do with all that information that you just got, right? So what we're going to do real quick is first talk about prep. And there's nobody that knows preparation better than Lorik.
That's true. I, in the commiserate Boy Scout, I over prep, over pack, checklist for everything. Part of the prep for this, it is going to start way before you ever actually go to your site visit. So when you have your deal and your LOI is accepted and you start that due diligence process, you're going to start getting a lot of information or hopefully you're getting a lot of information from the seller and the broker. They're going to be sending over financials. They're going to be sending over copies of the leases. There's going to be a lot of documents that come over, and all of this prep starts there, going through everything so you can be prepared when you go do your site visit. And we're going to talk about that when we talk about the execution. We're going to talk about the site visit. But all of the documents we want to go through before we get there. So we're prepared when we get on site for what we're looking for, trying to identify possible problem areas, maybe with utilities, trying to figure that out. And then also with leases, making sure what we're seeing on the T12 matches what's on the leases. And then when we get there, what matches what's in the office. So all those docs is something that we're going to be going through in preparation for that visit.
Now, if you're not already doing this, change your ways right away. If you're already doing this, pat yourself on the back, right? So every property that you're underwriting, that you have in front of you, that you get docs for, create a new file for that property and put every piece of information that you get on that property into that file and make sure that it's shared with your team. I'm talking about even like I create a Word doc and I copy and paste what the broker has sent me in the email onto a Word doc just so that I have all of that written down. I'm like, oh, dude, okay, he talked to me that there was an issue with the utilities that's somewhere buried in my email. I can then go to the Word doc that says broker notes and find where it talks about what's going on with the utilities. So if you're not doing it already, change your ways, be better, and do like create a folder, share it with your team, get all those saved copies in duplicates in there, because you'll thank us later if you ever run into an issue.
Yeah. And kind of on that same vein, set up a shared space. It doesn't matter what you're using, just make sure it's consistent. If it's a Dropbox, if it's a Google Drive, whatever it is, make sure you have that shared space. You want it early and you want everything to go in there. So, as you're doing all this prep work, as Tyler said, as you get documents and as you get your own documents, you want them in there. When you go and do your site visit, you're going to have stuff that you're probably going to be updating every night at the end of your day there. And you want all of that in a shared space. And then you want to be able to add to that. So as part of this, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, we actually had Brandy on our last site visit with us, and he brought a drone, and we got a bunch of drone footage and stuff like that. That all went into that shared drive. So make sure you set up that shared space early. And then all the documents you're going to get from the broker and the seller, they're going to probably set it up through some sort of sharing platform, Dropbox, Google Drive, whatever. You want to copy all of that over because you want all of that. Because at some point they're going to cut it off and you're going to wish you had those documents. So go in and get all those documents. Make sure you transfer them to your shared drive so there's a space where they're not going to get lost. So.
Now, when we talk about planning, we need to plan every facet of a due diligence, right? So before we even fly out to the property, there's a couple of things that you have to plan and prep for going into this visit. So the first part is obviously like find a place to stay, right? Get somewhere that's relatively close to the property, because I don't know, like I've been to one due diligence, Lorik's been to two, Brandy and Jess have been to a couple. They're long days. They're like 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. And like you don't want to add drive time into there. And you have meetings after, you have meetings before, you have like, hey, what the heck's going on over here? And then like, let's collab on that. So like get somewhere that's relatively close by so you don't have like a 30-minute drive every day to get to the property. So plan your visit, make sure that it's financially feasible, because everything comes out of pocket until you close this deal. So make sure that you want to be in a good spot for that. Another thing to plan for is build your teams, because you're going to be going through every single apartment complex or every single apartment, right? So like don't have everybody show up on Monday morning and go, okay, well, who's doing what team are we breaking into? Like have some kind of game plan, right? Be like, okay, these 3 people or these 4 people are leading out the teams, and then these are the people that are going to be on their teams, and we're going to just meet up and be like break, and then everybody goes and you can start your day and really get it rolling right away. So having that team together, having those plans together, and having a good place to stay where you can very quickly get to the property is super important. Lorik's going to talk about what you should bring to due diligence as some physical items, and then we'll talk about what execution looks like after that.
Yeah. So there is a list of items that I would recommend that you bring on your due diligence. And then whenever we go do site visits, like Cindy and I, we were at a property last week doing a site visit. I bring a lot of these tools with me when I do site visits too. So I always bring a multi-tool. I have a very nice Leatherman. You don't have to get a very nice Leatherman. You can go to Walmart and you can get, you can get a multi-tool for $5. But your big things, you want a pair of pliers. A knife is a good thing to have on you. Screwdrivers, that kind of thing. Just because you never know what you're going to run into. We went to a site visit in November last year, and the door to the pool, the room that was attached to the office where all the pool equipment was, the door was broken, and they had not been able to get into that room. And maintenance was very inept. They were fired, but they had not fixed it, and they didn't know how to get in. But I had my multi-tool, so I took the handle off of the door, and then I used my pliers to work the inner mechanism of the door and got the door open. Like, we needed to get in because we needed to know what was going on, and there was a lot of problems in the pool mechanical room from the pool, but maintenance for like 2 months had not gotten into that room. So you never know what you're going to run into, and that in that situation, part of that determination is that maintenance would let go, and we had new maintenance come in. Um, but I always want to I want to make sure I'm not caught unprepared. So, like I said, even when I do site visits, I always bring a multi-tool with me because I never know what I'm going to need. Um, Bring a tape measure because you never know when you're going to have to measure something, um, whether that's for contractors, whether that's for your own prep when you are going through like your CapEx list and you want to be able to have on hand, okay, we're going to be putting in a dog park here, or we need to replace this section of fencing. You know how much fencing you need to replace. We need to replace 30 feet of fence. So that's always a good one. Outlet testers, GFCI testers, there are a broad spectrum of testers that are out there. Honestly, you can get them off of Amazon for like $4. A basic tester is what you're going to need for 99% of what you're going to be doing when you're testing GFCIs. We have a bunch of cheap ones, and then we have one really nice one. And that's just in case we have to do any extra testing. We do have one with the capabilities, but like I said, 99% of our testing, a cheap GFCI is all that we need. So we have an outlet tester, a camera, which how many of us still carry a regular camera with us? Anybody? Probably not. Your phone works just as well. So, but you want to be able to take pictures. You need to be able to photograph and document. Um, a flashlight. Now this one, who still carries a flashlight? I still do. So yes, your flashlight on your phone is good, but it can be hard to get it in places. There are certain places I don't want to stick my phone. If I need to see behind a toilet, or I need to see inside of some sort of mechanical room for a septic system or something like that. Like, I don't want to drop my phone in there. So, and then sometimes I need multiple lights. And so I always do carry a flashlight with me. I don't carry like a giant mag light. It's a little LED flashlight about that big, but I carry it with me. Gloves. I always would suggest bringing gloves with you. You never know what situation you're going to walk into, and you may not want to touch things as part of that with your bare hands. Same thing with masks. Sometimes you come into a really nasty situation, and you may want something to cover your mouth and your nose with because you don't want to smell what's in there or breathe in what's going on in that room or in that unit. We do bring a gas meter for properties that have gas on them. So that if we're in a shared space like the laundry room or something like that, we can turn that meter on. It should have carbon monoxide detectors. They should be working, but they don't always work, or they're not always installed properly. So that gas meter there just helps with testing gas in the ambient air. Same thing with meter going into units. And then we do carry one moisture meter, so we can test for excess moisture in decks, in the roofs, in a room, that kind of thing. And then the last thing is on my bucket list of things to get. We haven't done it yet. Next site visit, we'll probably have our own. I do want to get a drone. We were lucky enough the last time we did this that Brandy brought his drone. Obviously, you may run into a situation where you may not be able to fly it. Like the property, the site visit we just did, we can't because it's too close to an Air Force base, so we can't use a drone there. But if you're able to, it lets you see the roofs. It lets you see the perimeter of the property. It lets you look for things that we can't see normally, and Google Earth only gets updated so often. And so if it hasn't been updated in 3 years, the roofs are going to look very different today than they did 3 years ago. So it just gives you a good opportunity to look at the property from a different perspective and give you that opportunity to potentially get ahead of some potential problems. So,
Awesome.
I did see Drew posted about PPE for bed bugs. So that is something you could do. We actually found out about this on our last site visit. So DEET does work on bed bugs. And we were talking to a pest control guy, and he said that he got so tired of suiting up to do bed bugs because it's Texas. It was Texas is where we were talking to this individual. And in the summer, it's 120. And if you're working in units, then maybe the AC's been cut or something like that. He's like, those suits are unbearable under good conditions. But DEET works. And so his recommendation was to bring DEET with you. And if you just spray your shoes and your pant legs up to about your knees, you can avoid fleas and bed bugs without having to suit up. So, yeah, we just found that out this last week. So typically we don't pack suits. That would probably be a case by case if we talk to the on-site and find out that we have a pest control issue in these units, then we'd probably get suits for like 2 people and send them into those units if we were going to send people in. But yeah, not something that's not in our normal toolkit that we would pack. That'd be a case by case. So
So I put on the chat there all the tools that we just talked about. So if you're really bad at taking notes like I am, I took the note for you. You got it right there. That's a great question about bed bugs, by the way. One thing that we did learn is that if you ever have to take something out for bed bugs, to write bed bugs on it instead of putting it up against the dumpster and just leaving it there, because somebody's probably going to grab it and drag it into their apartment. So you like spray paint bed bugs on the actual mattress itself. So yeah, with that being said, we're trying to keep it to like half an hour, and we've already been very long-winded as it is. So we're just going to try and boogie on through this to get you guys more info quicker. So the next up is the actual execution. Like you guys fly in, you stay at the hotel or Airbnb or whatever you got. What does the execution of the site visit look like? Okay. So first and foremost, there are a couple of different areas that you want to check, right? As far as areas go, there's interior, exterior, and common areas. So you want to make sure that you hit all of those very, very thoroughly. So I know with our team, we have teams that are broken up to go interior, and we have teams that are broken up to do financial. And that's the first couple of days until we're done with the interiors, right? So we want to go through every single apartment, and we want to look at every single thing. So really quick on the interior side, I'm going to show you guys our proprietary system that we use to do these interior walks. So I don't know if anybody here has seen this before or not, but if you have, congratulations. So this right here is our checklist when we're going through doing due diligence, okay? And we have wonderful, amazing people on our team that are much smarter than us, and that's the way that teams should be built, is you always want to get people that are smarter than you on your team that have built it to where this Excel spreadsheet, which we used to do by hand, now is an app that we just click buttons and automatically does in there. So we go through and we say, is this upstairs, downstairs, has it occupied, all that stuff. We can check out all the conditions of everything. We can say that vinyl is present. We can say the condition is poor, that we need to replace it. And then we can make, whatever comments we need to make on there. So we go through every single line item. What is the dishwasher, the refrigerator? Are they stainless steel? Are they black? Are they white? All that stuff. Are there GFCIs that are not working? And we're able to go through and get really, really granular on every single apartment. And I will say the first time I went through and did this at an apartment, it took me like 30 minutes to go through and answer every single one of these questions. By the end of it, it took us about 10, 15 minutes an apartment because we found a rhythm, we were used to it, and we were flowing through. The reason that we do this is it all flows into our CapEx budget projections. So we can go and look and say, hey, it's going to cost us X amount of dollars. So like vinyl replacements right here, you can see that we have a 1 because I just put that in there. And we know that vinyl replacements are how much, Lorick?
Depends on the square footage, but anywhere between, on average, about 2,000. So
2,000. Great. And then that'll give us a total over here. As this number goes up, every 2,000, it starts clicking over. It makes it super easy when you go back to the reporting side. So I wanted to show you guys that. But this has so much information that we try and collect in order to make our due diligence process the best that we can possibly do. Laura, do you want to talk about the exterior and the common areas?
yeah, so part of the exteriors is we want to check for any potential damage to the buildings that's going to be detrimental to the safety of the residents. We're also looking for anything that we need to address, any potential concerns with residents. We found on one site visit that there was a lot of people cooking with oil and they were just dumping it outside, which I guess is better than the drains, but still that's a problem. Um, so it's going to be situations where we are looking for things that are going to need to be addressed, and making sure that everything is in good condition. That includes like the parking lots, the fencing, the lighting. That's one of the things that we do is we're doing our site visit typically during the day, but we're still going to go back to the property at night and look at the lighting, look at potential security issues and stuff like that. Um, and then common areas, we want to look and see what are our current amenities, what is our current layout for common areas. That's going to be parks, the pool, picnic areas, barbecue, all that kind of the common amenities, laundry room facilities. Is there room for improvement? Are there things that need to be replaced? Is the playground from the 1970s and is not considered safe anymore? Whether or not you believe that that's the case, your insurance definitely has an opinion on that. So do we need to replace the playground? Are there things we need to do with the pool? And so all those kinds of things we're going to build into what eventually is going to be our CapEx budget and our value add plan for the property. Um, and then after we're done with those, we're going to do a financial due diligence, and that's going to be in the office. Jessica's actually very familiar with this process. As we are taking all of our financial documents that we got from the broker and from the seller, and we're verifying that with the files and the copies on site. Does the lease that is in the folder, the physical lease that we're checking against, and the lease that's in the system, whatever the system is at Folio Resman, does that match what's on the T12? Is that rent that they're paying the rent that's on the paperwork? Are they being charged pet rent? Are they, do they have some sort of concession? Like checking everything about the financials against the physical records that are on site. So, and sometimes it goes great. This last property that we did, it was fantastic. Everything was in the folders, everything was filed, everything matched. Cindy has been to some, and if you've heard her talk about this, you've heard this before. They literally had the file cabinet in a closet, and then all the files were on the floor in the closet. They were not even in the file cabinet. So, and unfortunately, that when you're doing the financial side of the on-site due diligence, that is what you get to fight with. So either it can be super smooth where everything is done right, or it can be just a nightmare because they don't have a good filing system. So,
Yep.
yeah.
We're also checking to verify are dollars actually going into the bank account,
Yeah.
matching those dollars match what they say, right? And then deposits. Are people actually paying deposits and how much do we have in the bank account for deposits? Those are really big ones that we check. One of the things that we do when we go to a site visit is that we want to invite several different types of contractors to come look at the site also. So it could be general contractors that we're looking to maybe place bids for reno. It could be asphalt contractors because we need to redo the parking lot. Could be fencing contractors because we need new fencing. So as you are building your idea and your plan to get out there, you also need to be looking at contractors. Who do we contact in order to get out there? I will give you one tip that we learned the hard way. Do not schedule every contractor to come out Monday at 9 o'clock. Okay? You have every single contractor and all of them want your attention, and there's not nine of me that I can just vibrate very quickly and duplicate myself. So make sure that you stagger those contractors when they're coming out. It has nothing to do with competitiveness, right? Like I love seeing three asphalt contractors at the same time because they know we're getting other contractors involved and it's not just them. So it has nothing to do with that, but it's like you have the HVAC, you have three HVAC guys, you have three asphalt guys, you have three GCs, and you have three electricians, and you have three plumbers, and there's like five different groups that need individual attention to know where to go. So just try and stagger them a little bit more. But as you get those contractor bids for whatever work it is, where do we put that information?
In the online file.
In the online file that we shared with the rest of the team, right? Absolutely. What's the minimum bids each contractor? So we want three different bids from three different contractors. Absolutely. That makes sure that we don't always want to go with the cheapest, right? We want to go with the best work for the best price. So it could be the medium price, but we know that they can meet deadlines. So that's the tip for the contractors. Get everybody there, but stagger them so that you can spend time with them. One of the things that we love to do is also meet with the Chamber of Commerce when we're going to the town, right? So that again takes prep work. Set up a time where you can sit down with them. This last time we went to Tyler, Texas, we met with the Chamber of Commerce, and they said verbatim, "This is amazing. We've never had investors take time to meet with us and talk about what our plans are for Tyler." Which is crazy because you should be understanding what their plan for the city that you're buying a very large asset in is going to be. What development do they have? What business are they trying to drive? What are they doing to improve their city? Those are all very, very important questions that should be answered. And the best people to answer that is right there in the Chamber of Commerce. They're the ones that are actually planning the city. So set time to meet with them and set time just to go around the city. What does that city feel like? Because you're going to have to talk to your investors and tell them how amazing this city is. That's why you're there. So you need to fully understand what this city feels like, what it means, what the vibes are, if you want to go that direction, right? And that's why it's important to stay near your apartment complex. What does it feel like at night? What does it feel like during the day? What's happening around that area? So those are all super important while you're there. So now the next important part is what the heck do you do with all that information? So Lorik, what do we do with all that?
So we have a couple of different things. We have our unit tracker. Tyler showed that to you. So we want to make sure that that is completely filled out. We have a scope of the amount of work it's going to take to upgrade the units. We have a CapEx tracker that will start as part of this for all of our value add stuff that's going to be outside of the units. If we need a playground, how much do we think that's going to cost? If we need to replace fencing, we need to do asphalt work, we need to do plumbing, maybe we have to replace a main. There's all those different things that we're going to start putting into these different trackers. Our unit tracker for all our unit upgrades, so we can get a look at what our CapEx spend is going to be for unit renovations, upgrades, that kind of thing. And then our CapEx tracker for all of our value add stuff and that kind of thing. So what is it going to cost us to do all of the extras outside of units? And then we're going to put all that information together. We're going to get all of our inspector reports. So plumbers, electricians. This last property, we actually got a commercial building inspector to come out and check on the buildings as a whole. And we identified some potential electrical problems. We found out that there were some potential plumbing issues. And so we wanted to get all that information together. We've got our inspector reports, we've got our trackers, and then we can put all that information together to build our CapEx plan and to put that information together for our retrade. that's our big one, right? We we don't want to pay top dollar for something that we are already in the hole on. So we can use that retrade as part of our negotiation for the purchase price. We found that we're going to have to replace electrical panels on 3 buildings, and we found that we have to replace a main line for building 7 or whatever. We have a lot of these big expenses that are at that point it's deferred maintenance. So sometimes deferred maintenance is what we're getting ourselves into when we're going in for a value add, but sometimes it could be, potentially a liability for the residents that are already living there and us coming in, taking control of the property. And so we can use that as leverage as part of our retrade amount.
Now, when you talk about retrade, there's a big difference between known issues and unknown issues, right? If the broker emailed you and said, hey, the roofs are 20 years old, they're probably going to have to be replaced, you're not getting a retrade on that. They told you straight up, and that should have been in your underwriting to begin with. Retrade is mostly about things that you find on site that were not disclosed that you have an issue with that are going to cost a significant dollar to be able to repair. So just keep that in mind as we're going through that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have one question from Tiffany that I need to answer real quick. So she asked, do you have a list of suggested questions we ask the Chamber of Commerce? So generically, the answer is no. The real question you ask them, what do you guys, what are your plans for 2035, 2045? What are you planning on doing with the city? And they work in government, so they will talk to you forever about all the stuff that they want to do with the city. So they kind of do that a lot. But we also were very lucky to have Jess on our team. And Jess prepared a whole laundry list of questions that she wanted to ask the Chamber of Commerce. And so she would be a really good resource. I would recommend reaching out to Jess to see what her questions were and kind of the importance that they were answered in and things like that. So with that being said, we're also trying to be very mindful of your guys' time. So can I just get a quick raise of hands? Was this helpful? Do you feel more prepared for a due diligence? Awesome. We're so grateful for you guys showing up on here. Lord, did you have anything you want to talk about?
I was just going to say, this is always a learning curve, and every time you go and do a due diligence, you're going to learn something new. So don't be afraid to come at this prepared and then have a curveball thrown at you. Just add it to the list of things to prepare for next time. And obviously, you guys know you can always reach out to us. We're more than happy to talk to you about stuff. So if you have a site visit coming up or you have a due diligence coming up and you want to talk a little more in depth, reach out to us. We are more than happy to help you prepare for taking down what is a monumental task. I mean, this last one, we had 20 people the first 2 or 3 days helping walk units. If we had not had that, it would have taken us significantly longer. So it is a lot, and it can be overwhelming, but we want to make sure that we are helping you prepare as much as you can. And then share what you learned. Like I said, we always learn something new every time we go, and that is just something that you need to be prepared for. And then, just posted, it takes a village. Share that information, make it easier for the next person. So,
yep, absolutely. Well, that's all we have for you guys. If you have any questions, we'll stay after for a little bit to take any questions that you guys have. Other than that, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
No questions.
Nope.